Birth and Death of the American Spirit, Part 1, Episode 1. The Great American West, New Mexico to be exact, known for its high winds, may be a great place to learn about the meaning of the term spirit. You'll know what I mean as we start down this trail. Welcome to Patriot News NM, and my very first documentary series. Part 1, Episode 1 is, I hope, going to give you an understanding of what the American spirit is. Though some may disagree with the facts I present, I ask you at least keep an open mind. This series is not a religious search, but to understand this journey you at least have to look to God for some important knowledge in order to take this trail that will span the centuries, starting in the early 1600s and ending in 2016. Together I hope we rediscovered that American spirit that helped build the most free republic ever created on earth. A republic, I believe, blessed by God and carved out of the North American wilderness, long before the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution was even dreamed of. I believe the colonials already possessed that American spirit. The revolution that would give birth to this nation was already planted in their hearts and in their spirits. They longed for the distant mountains and plains before they even knew of their bounty and beauty. They were familiar with hard work and dangers, along with the rewards that come with a job well done. As you will see, most of the early pioneers did not believe in handouts or free rides. They also did not depend on government to help them in their daily lives. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 2, "And on the seventh day God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made." So God not only expected us to work 6 days, he himself worked. So work was never truly a curse. In matter of fact, it is a blessing. Anyone who has ever made something out of nothing knows a little bit about being a creator and how rewarding it can be. Work then can draw you closer to God. For those who can and refuse to work, God has some words for you. Proverbs chapter 10 verse 4. "He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent maketh rich." So part of the spirit likes work. It was designed to be a blessing and not a curse. I am getting a bit too far down the trail, so let's back up and discover the other parts of the definition of spirit. To begin every journey, we must start at the beginning, so we must first define the word spirit to understand what the true meaning of American spirit is. I believe, like the term marriage, spirit can only be defined by God, since it was a gift from God in the first place. The Hebrew word for spirit is ruah. Ruah appears in the Old Testament 389 times. Its varied uses almost make it undiscernible. Ruah is used more often to speak of God, a total of 136 times, than of persons or animals, a total of 129 times. Ruah's basic meaning is wind, noted 113 times in the Old Testament. An example of this can be found in Exodus chapter 10 verse 13. "It was an east wind that brought locusts." Also, a strong east wind that divided the Red Sea and dried it up can be found in Exodus chapter 14 verse 21. This is why it is great to be doing this video in New Mexico, because we understand wind here very well. It is not hard for us to imagine wind as a spirit. Ruah, or spirit, can also basically mean breath. As an example of this, it is the Lord who gives breath to people in Isaiah chapter 42 verse 5. It is important that you note that it is the Lord who gives breath or spirit to people. Without God, there is no spirit. By extension, when applied to a person, ruah or spirit comes to mean vital power or strength. It is the spirit that sustains a person through illness in Proverbs chapter 18 verse 14. But the spirit of the troubled person can be crushed. Psalms chapter 34 verse 18. This force can be weakened or strengthened. as well as made anew or increased. It was a drink that caused the spirit or strength of Samson to return and revive him in Judges chapter 15, verses 18 through 19. Ruah, spirit, can also refer to a person's will. Those whose spirits God had stirred up went up to rebuild the temple in Ezra chapter 1, verse 5. Caleb had a different spirit from the other spies in Numbers chapter 14, verse 24, and thus was resolute in his assessment relative to the conquest of the land. In the New Testament, the Greek term pneuma is used the same as the Hebrew word ruah in the Old Testament, while sometimes pneuma means wind, as in John chapter 3 verse 8, and breath, as in Matthew chapter 27 verse 50, and Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 8. It most generally translates as spirit, meaning intangible or incapable of being perceived by the senses, a feeling, or an intelligent being. And 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 verse 8, it means breath. In Ecclesiastes chapter 8 verse 8, the vital principle in man. It also denotes the rational, immortal soul by which man is distinguished. Acts chapter 7 verse 59, and 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 5, chapter 6 verse 20, and chapter 7 verse 34. This word is used also metaphorically as denoting a tendency. In Zechariah chapter 12 verse 10 and Luke chapter 13 verse 11. Also in Romans chapter 1 verse 4, chapter 3 verse 18, and 1 Timothy chapter 3 verse 16, it designates the divine nature. It also can be used as mental and moral qualities in man, hence applied to man as being the seat of emotion and desire or trouble, and thus gradually of mental and moral qualities in general. Exodus chapter 28 verse 3, the spirit of wisdom, and Ezekiel chapter 11 verse 19, a new spirit, etc. Where man is deeply stirred by the divine spirit as among the prophets. The Spirit of the Lord came upon him, 1 Samuel chapter 10 verse 10. It is the Spirit which breath witness with our spirit that we are children of God. Romans chapter 8 verse 16. What a ride, eh? I should have told you that this series was going to go down a few trails. So now we have to use our discovered understanding of the term spirit, ruah in Hebrew, pneuma in Greek. Now to arrive at a valid definition of spirit in this series. We will define it as follows. Spirit. Power and strength, a force that can be weakened and strengthened. Also to mean a person's will, and finally in some cases used to mean principle. We arrive at this then. The American spirit is a power and strength and a combined force derived from the American people and who received it from God, and demonstrates the will and the principles of the American pioneers. No matter how we say it, American spirit or America Ruah or even America Pneuma, America in its early years derived its spirit from God and the American pioneers collectively. So that the pioneers who gave their spirit freely to birth the young United States, in return they could, when needed, in times of hardship and trouble, receive 10 times the strength, courage, and spirit back from the young republic, and be renewed by spirit, by faith in God. It took 3 things to make all this work: God, Spirit, and those who were born with that brave pioneer desire to birth a nation. No matter the cost to themselves, no matter the hardship, an unselfish desire to create, explore, and expand the nation and their own spirit. So if you do not understand the concept of God, then it will be harder for you to understand the American spirit. You cannot remove the giver of the Spirit and then claim you understand the term Spirit. I believe you will also see if we had 10 ingredients to make Spirit, you would need the following 10 things. 1. God, courage, good work ethics, independence, strength, strong will, principles, moral qualities, wisdom, and finally faith. Now that we have explored the meaning of American spirit, we must now find the date of its creation in North America. I believe it started with John Smith when he founded Jamestown back on May 14, 1607. In part 2 of episode 1, we will begin by getting to know Captain John Smith. And even though the United States was not conceived yet, I will show you how he displayed the American spirit. I hope to see you again for part 2 of episode 1 as we discover the first example of the American spirit in a pioneer by the name of Captain John Smith. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you will be among the first to know when part 2 is available. Happy trails and God bless.